The world of WoW is heating up between the tag team division popping off, the trios division popping off, and people finding their identities. WoW is shaping up to be a crazy time full of action and drama. This is Steph and Cat Talk WoW.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late. Cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of
Hey y'all! Welcome to a new episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of HWP Extra, and co-host of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, contributing writer for Daily DDT and color commentator featured on the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, and Spartan Wrestling. And this time I am sadly alone because Katrina is a bit under the weather. So we're gonna send our good and positive and healing vibes towards my sister right now because she really needs it. So we definitely miss her on the show today, but we're gonna keep it going for her because there is still so much to talk about in so little time. We apologize for not coming on last week, but seeing as last week had a lot of fraught stuff going on outside of wrestling, if you catch my drift, we needed to just take a breather and just take some time to ourselves to collect our minds and our thoughts before we were set to come on and give you guys a show to talk about what's going on. So forgive us for that, but we are here to talk about what's happened in the past two episodes on WoW Superheroes with our favorite women's wrestlers on our favorite hour long show. And man, there is so much going on, like too much going on at this point. But of course, if you are watching on any one of our live platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, X/Twitter, or anywhere else, thank you guys so much for watching right now. And of course, you can watch this later. So thank you if you're going to watch this later. And just continue to support us as we continue to cover WoW Superheroes as the eminent and prominent WoW after show. So we're going to be going over two episodes here. This is a double dose episode. So we'll be going over The Cost of Freedom, which took place and aired last weekend, and well, not this past weekend, but the weekend before last. And then of course, Where Do You Belong, Holly Swag, which aired on this past weekend. So we're going to start with The Cost of Freedom, which started with a clip from Jesse Jones driving up in an old pickup truck to the Fab Four mansion to pick up and rescue Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag. And she was holding a big stick and she barged her way in the house, much to the chagrin of Lana Star, who did not like this. And of course, they showed more of what happened during her visit to the Fab Four mansion as the episode went on, because of course they had to get to the in-ring action. But I really do love how they're doing more filming outside of the WoW arena this season. And I really appreciate that level of storytelling with their mansion and with other places that we're seeing as well. And I hope that they continue it as the third season gets underway. So the first match we're going to discuss is the Dojo Defenders versus Krush and Gloria Glitter, who are, of course, two-thirds of the WoW Trios Tag Team Champions with Coach Campanelli as top tier. This was a non-title match between these two, and this was very different because, of course, the Dojo Defenders, Kara Kai and Tara Strike, are relatively new to the WoW universe, so it was still So this was a match that we had not seen before. And it did kind of catch me off guard because here lately, top tier has been fighting any, trio team that stands in their way and beating them for those titles. But, for them to get back in the tag team action was really different. But this was a really good match. I absolutely enjoyed it. They brought the action. Crush, of course, started the match. With Karakai. And basically, throughout this match, you saw Tara also outmaneuvering Crush in the very beginning. Forgive me, it was Tara Strike who started with Crush. She started outmaneuvering Crush in the beginning and caught and catching her off guard. Then Kara tagged in and lit up Crush with kicks and head scissors and a scorpion kick to her. Basically, with the way the top tier has been operating, they're used to barreling through their opponents. But the dojo defenders were here to prove a major point and let them know that they are not to be played with and not to be toyed with just because y'all think, y'all are on top as the champions. And but that didn't stop them from having like really crafty moves as Crush, faked a wrist injury, but then Gloria Glitter took advantage of it by kicking Kara off of the apron and distracting the referee. Gloria locked in a full Nelson onto Kara Kai and a clothesline and a stair stepper and tried to submit her out, but then Kara refused to give up. But then Crush continued to tag in and knock Tara off the apron. And then they hit their patented top drop and stomped onto Karakai. But then once Kara was able to tag in Tara, she jumped off of the top rope and hit a haluva kick like Sami Zayn onto Gloria Glitter. And then Crush wound up breaking the count, which almost won them the match. But then Tara threw Crush out of the ring onto Coach Campanelli. And then Gloria tried to get Coach's attention as she prepped for her aerobic annihilator, which tends to win her matches. But Tara Strike flipped her distraction into a pinning combination and upset top tier. So the dojo defenders actually defeated Crush and Gloria Glitter in tag team action. And this was an amazing upset to say the least, but I was really happy about it. But of course, they weren't able to celebrate their win for long because top tier proceeded to attack them afterward before they cut a promo addressing themselves and the state of their being. So Coach Campanelli got the microphone and said, "Some of you may be wondering why I wasn't in that match or why I was taking notes on the side. I formed this team because I saw a lot of raw talent in Crush and Glitter alike. For the past several months, I've been building them up to be top tier. But every team needs to be challenged and every team needs to be tested. And sometimes you have to make cuts, just sometimes. Today was their test. And I have to say that frankly, I'm a little disappointed. There won't be any cuts made today, but don't think that we won't be going back. I'm going to be breaking you down to build you back up again, and I will keep doing that until I get the elite athleticism that I'm looking for because Coach knows best. So, Coach Campanelli here was very disappointed in the performance of Gloria Glitter and Crush. And it was so evident from the way that Crush was even trying to reach out and touch Coach's shoulder after they attacked the dojo defenders, but she snatched away from her. And the type of reinforcement that Coach Campanelli tends to give is very, very cold. Like it can be very like hot and cold at times. Like it's very conditional based off of how well you perform. And if you don't perform well, then it's almost like she pretends like you don't matter or like you're low to the ground to her. And sometimes I just feel like if you're going to be a coach, you shouldn't have to like tear someone down in order to build them back up again. Of course, let them know that there are improvements that needs to be made, but do not destroy your teammates. And I think it's funny how the way that she started top tier was by discarding team spirit in Pep Riley and Ariel Sky and Sasha Sparks. But she let us know that in this promo that she is not above cutting Krush and Gloria Glitter either, even though she replaced Team Spirit with them. So this was very diabolical from her. But I guess we really do have to just wait and see how that's going to turn out. But of course, top tier is still the trio's champions at this point. But who's to say that if they don't perform well anymore, that she might replace them with someone else? So Crush is tough out here in these streets, but either way, um the Dojo defenders wound up getting the victory, and I'm definitely here for them rising up in the tag division. So that was really cool. So after that match, we saw Jesse Jones using the reward money that she won from telling who attacked the beast to pay Lana Star back and get the mother truckers out of her employ of having to clean up the Fab Four mansion, right? But Holly Swag, like I said she was going to do, she decided that she was going to stay for whatever party that the Fab Four was going to have, and Betty and Jesse were just left behind on the porch to deal with the choice that Holly Swag had made. And once I saw that happen, the writing was on the wall. But we're going to get to that a little bit later in this episode tonight. Holly Swag is really enjoying the fabulous life. And Betty and Jesse don't like it because, of course, they come from the country with the southern living and also the truck stop life and everything. So they feel like Holly is just in over her head with Fab Four. So basically, they're trying to concoct a plan to get her back. So, moving on into match number two, we finally got to Siren, which actually that segment feeds into the next match, which was Siren the Voodoo Doll versus Holly Swag. And this is the first time we were seeing Holly Swag perform by herself. If I'm not mistaken, because she's usually in tag team action with her mother, Big Rig Betty. But because of the way that their tag team match went last time against Siren the Voodoo Doll and Chainsaw, she wanted to battle against Siren the Voodoo Doll herself. And she comes out, of course, with her pink highlights in her blonde hair. Her hair is a little bit longer, and she has on the scarf and the sunglasses that Lana Star gave to her. So this match was pretty interesting to say the least, as you can see Holly sort of falling into more of that fabulous persona that she had going on. Um Holly started brawling with Siren very early in the match. Like she had a point to prove in order to be more aggressive towards her. And then Siren actually proceeded to give more shoulder thrusts to Holly Swag because she is the more opposing or the more imposing opponent. And she charged at Holly, and then Swag, of course, moved out of the way and used her quickness to sort of get the upper hand. Then Holly attacked Siren with forearm strikes and a bicycle kick and slid right into an attack from Siren, and she locked in a camel clutch onto Holly Swag and hit her back and hit a Northern Light suplex for a 2 count. And then Siren proceeded to also stretch and curb stomp Holly a bit, and then she went for a cannonball, but then Holly was smart enough to move out of the way, and she executed a beautiful crossbody splash for a 2 count, and then knocked in her hitch and ditch that she would normally do with her mom for a 3 count, and Holly Swag wound up winning the match. So this was a very hard fought victory, but Holly Swag wound up getting this victory on her own, and it was just really interesting to see how she treated Siren afterward. Now, of course, Siren has never been, a face or a good girl in WoW Superheroes, but Holly proceeded to act very heelish when she threw Siren the Voodoo Doll out of the ring and she primped and posed with the referee the way that any woman in the Fab Four would do. And then David McLane got in the ring and asked her and did an interview with her and asked her, what was up with her new attitude. And she said that she got swagged up by the Fab Four and that Big Rig Betty, her mother now, got left behind. And that she basically said and dissed her by saying that she should have been a better mother. Let's sit with that for a second. Imagine saying that your mom should have been a better mother when she was only trying to help you get out of the mess that you sort of got yourself in. It was Holly who decided to ultimately go into the room and run up that bill for them. And it was Betty who was trying to get them out. So the idea that she would, trash her and say that she should have been a better mother and that she only got left behind was really tough to hear. It was so tough to hear. Um it was almost like a situation where you're sort of watching someone, run down and disrespect their parents, knowing full well that this is the person that's made all the sacrifices for them and, propel their child for success. And you treat them like trash. Like, that was just really horrible of her to say. And to say that in front of everybody, and even with David McLane standing there, was just really rough to hear. So it really feels that Holly Swag really might be feeling herself a whole lot, and she really is enjoying this fabulous life that Lana Star has exposed her to and that she has exposed herself to. But my thing is, your mom tried to get you out of that situation, where you guys owed all that money, and because you were lazy and you didn't want to work anymore, now you want to leave her behind. It's nuts. But we're going to get further into it. So now we move into match number 3 of this episode, which was here again another trios. Basically, speaking of the trios, we got a trios match between Fury, Sylvia Sanchez and Genesis versus Team Rave to the Island Rave to the Grave with Island Girl Kalaki, Chantilly Chella, and Holidead. Now, this was interesting because we've been seeing Genesis on her solo run since she left Exile and that disbanded. And she's been sort of on this quest to get what she feels like is hers, which is an opportunity at the WoW World title. And she made this known before the match even got started. She got on the microphone and said, "Look, David, I don't want to do this. You know, I'm finished with trios work. You know, I'm not trying to be on a team no more." But, David was like, "Look, you said yes, you agreed to it. So here we are." And then Genesis got smart with him and said, "If I wanted to be in a trios match, I would have stayed in Exile." And so, speaking of Exile, they proceeded to also announce that Ice Cold, is now known as Scout Parker after going to the forest to find herself and meditate and reconnect with Mother Nature. So, in the midst of Exile disbanding and Ice Cold having a meltdown the way that she did after her last match, she is now known as Scout Parker, which we will talk about later on in the show. So, Island Rave to the Grave was very cohesive with their chemistry in this trios match. It was really amazing to watch them get the upper hand over Genesis, Fury, and Sylvia Sanchez, who had never really teamed before. They had frequent tags going on and very innovative maneuvers, but Fury and Sylvia Sanchez shifted the momentum with a backbreaker, and a distraction towards the referee. And Genesis reluctantly, of course, tagged in, and then she got knocked out. But then, of course, she got back on the microphone while the match was going on and proceeded to complain more and more. And as the match decided to break down into a brawl, she rolled in and basically flipped a pin for Sylvia Sanchez's favor, and they got the win. So this was called almost kind of like a fluke victory, but in the end, Fury, Sylvia Sanchez, and Genesis wound up winning. And it's so funny that for all of the talk that Genesis was saying about not wanting to participate, she wound up hitting one of her old exile tricks in flipping over one of her teammates so they can get the upper hand, and wound up, beating the other team. It was really interesting to see that happen. It's like old habits die hard, and Genesis's old habits are truly dying hard in this regard. So for all we know, this could be the first and only time we see her team with Fury and Sylvia Sanchez. Or, we could see her, come back into the realm of a team. But either way, Genesis is just really angry at this point, and just trying to get what she feels like she deserves, which is singles gold. But they keep sticking her in these matches, and she just kept complaining the whole time. And my thing is, if you're going to complain the whole time, then just stay out of it. Just stay out of it and stay out of trios action and just do you. Just do you. So if I could tell those WoW executives anything, don't put her in any more trios matches, please. Because it's clear she don't want to be there. Please get somebody else to, get in those matches with other teams and just, get that together. But yeah, Team Island Rave to the Grave did a phenomenal job in this match. I love seeing their chemistry on full display here. And I really feel like they would be very strong contenders for the trios titles against top tier. Of course, once they get themselves situated and together. But yeah, this was a really good, solid match for the trios division. Now, after this match, they showed Jesse and Big Rig Betty leave the Fab Four mansion, but Jesse Jones stated that she had an idea to get Holly out of her fabulous cloud. And yeah, that's where that episode ended. Well, not the episode, but that's where that part of the episode ended. And then Abilene Maverick proceeded to make her entrance for commentary for the main event and basically stating that everybody missed her. But I'm more than sure if Katrina were on here with me, she would say that she did not miss Abilene Maverick at all. And the funny part about all of this attacking stuff about who attacked the beast and how she came out after the beast got attacked and said that Karma was a bee. I just think it's so funny that she isn't further inserting herself in the WoW world title picture, but we'll get to that a little bit more as we go into the main event for this episode, which was Santana Garrett versus the Classmaster. And of course, the Classmaster was accompanied by Samantha Smart, and this was the match that Samantha bargained with David with that information about who attacked the beast, and basically said that if Classmaster were to defeat a former Wild World champion in Santana Garrett, that she would have an opportunity to face off against the beast. So this is what this main event was. And when I tell you this was a barn burner, it really was. Abilene Maverick was on commentary, still claiming injury to her foot, claiming that that's the reason why she has not gotten back into in-ring action. But of course, David and Nigel were not here for it. They weren't believing it. So as these ladies made their entrance and got the match started, they did announce that Americana was not at WoW side by side with Santana because she was tending to Levi, who broke his arm on the playground, and so they gave him well wishes and everything, because I've never had a broken bone, but I imagine as a child having a broken bone, that has to be really scary. So big ups to Levi, and I hope he's healed up and doing okay. So Classmaster proceeded to insult this WoW OG by putting her finger on her temple and claiming that she was smarter than her. But then Santana goes for a waist lock, and then, of course, she reversed the waist lock that Classmaster had on her. Then Classmaster caught Santana midair as she tried to jump onto her, but then Santana hit a jackknife pin and an arm drag to the Classmaster. Even though Classmaster is over 6 foot tall, Santana is not scared of anybody, and she will knock down anybody down to her size. And this is exactly what Santana was doing throughout this entire match. Of course, Classmaster, as you can see, was utilizing her educated feet to get the best of Santana with those quick kicks. But Santana just kept fighting back and ducking all of her big boots, and she hit a snapmare and a kick to the back of Classmaster. But then Classmaster decided to take a different approach and attack and target Santana's left leg. But then Santana fought back and hit elbows and nip ups to knock out Classmaster with a series of super kicks. And she hit her supernatural submission, which could have led the Classmaster to tap out. But then she got a rope break. But then the ref got distracted by Samantha Smart, and she used her yardstick to choke out Samantha onto the bottom rope. And then Classmaster hit her big boot in order to win the match. So now Classmaster is has a level of contendership for the Wild World title against the Beast, who we still have yet to see on this season of WoW. But as she celebrated in victory, Samantha Smart cut a promo saying, it's truly remarkable how much better we are than all of you. You're out here collecting pity points and participation trophies, and we're out here collecting wins. You know what? Speaking of wins, David McLane agreed that if we defeated a former Wild World champion, Santana Garrett, which we just did, that we would get our shot at the title from the Beast. And Beast, I'll have my assistant ship you some cleaning supplies so you can shine up that belt because it will be hours. And after she cuts this promo in which she feels really confident, Abilene Maverick proceeds to make a stunning announcement. She says that she is bringing a new protege to WoW Superheroes that will be debuting real soon. And when David and Nigel asked her who it was, she said that she isn't going to tell us just yet, but we have to wait and see. Now, because I keep my ears to those internet wrestling streets, I think I know exactly who it is. But because I love y'all and I want y'all to be surprised, I'm not going to tell y'all who I think it is. But just know, Abilene Maverick always has tricks up her sleeves when it comes to that Wild World title or when it comes to people doing her personal bidding. And considering she isn't just, a WoW OG and a former champion herself, she is always just calculating and strategizing ways in which she can get more of her name out there, whether she's in ring or not. So I can't wait to see who this protege is going to be. But that's how the cost of freedom ended. It was a very intriguing episode indeed. Now, we move to the next episode, which it had a whole lot more drama and it debuted two new WoW superheroes. So as we move into the next episode, Big Rig Betty, Jesse Jones, and David McLane had a talk about Holly Swag and and basically wanted David to sort of get in on or weigh in on Holly Swag and why she should come back with them. And I found it funny how Jessie was calling herself Holly Swag's auntie, and I was just like, this has never been said before on WoW television. But I'll allow it because they're sort of cut from the same ilk, even though they got the Tennessee Kentucky connection. Shout out to both of those states, especially Kentucky. Um, and they were trying to get David in on the situation, but David was like, "Look, isn't Holly a grown woman? She made her own decision." But then the Fab Four came out, and Lana Star called Betty and Jesse super dramatic and said that Holly is living her best life and she's no longer eating beef jerky at the truck stop. Or wait, she did a country accent. She said beef jerky at the truck stop, and I was just like, "Oh, girl, why you got to be that disrespectful?" But Jesse said, "Look, y'all are brainwashing Holly." And she was telling Holly that they're only friends with you because of what they can get out of you. And that once they're finished using you, they're going to throw you away. So you need to come back with people who actually love you, right? Pretty sensible stuff. But then Jesse proceeded to suggest a tag team match between her and Big Rig Betty and Miami Sweet Heat. And whoever wins that match gets custody of Holly Swag. Now, this is pretty hilarious considering Holly Swag is very much a grown woman. So, the fact that they were fighting for custody of her was just pretty interesting. But, they agreed to it and let it happen. And David McLane put it on the books. So, in the main event of this episode called Where Do You Belong? Holly Swag, they were fighting for custody of her. And Betty is ready to take Holly back to the South, kicking and screaming if she has to. And she said that down South, this is where we raise our babies right. And as a woman from the South who's from Alabama, I know I was raised right. I know I was raised right by my parents and by my grandparents. God bless their souls. So, yeah, I kind of get where she was coming from. But of course, Holly Swag is not a baby anymore. She needs to be able to make her own decisions. So, before we get back into that drama, let's get into this match, which had the debut of a new WoW superhero. Technically, too, if you really, count it. You had Xena Phoenix making her debut, and she was going up against Scout Parker, formerly known as Ice Cold. Like I said from the previous episode, Scout Parker went out to the woods to reconnect with nature and just get a better head on her shoulders and become more of an environmentalist. But of course, Xena making her WoW debut, um, proceeded to barrel through her. She is from Albania and she's known as the Albanian Grappler. And when I say Scout Parker came out here with her sign and everything, look at this presentation for Xena Phoenix first, though, before we get off into Scout. This was amazing. It's like fire coming from like a hole in the ground and it's going to eat you alive. And this beautiful bird is going to come out here to rescue you. Like this is what Xena Phoenix was giving and I really love it. I love it a lot. But then you have Scout Parker coming out with her environmentalist sign, and everything she was giving just reminded me of Chelsea from That's So Raven and the Planet Champion iteration of Brian Danielson when he came out and was calling all the fans fickle and everything when he was feuded with Kofi Kingston during WrestleMania season. That's low key what Scout Parker was giving, and I was just like, wow, this is nuts. But throughout this match, you kind of saw more aggression from Scout Parker slash Ice Cold here, going up against Xena Phoenix. Xena was using a lot of her quickness and strength to get the advantage early, and then she flipped Scout into a fireman's carry, which I thought was very impressive. But Scout was more grounded. And tough in her approach more than she has been as Ice Cold ever because she was utilizing a lot more high flying tactics back then, but now that's definitely not the case here as she's more grounded in the earth. She's using more grounded tactics to get the upper hand, but she did try to hit a flip here. But Zeta Phoenix moved out of the way. Um, Scout even hit a Hurricanrana DDT and double knees to Xena Phoenix into the corner of the ring, and that was very impressive. Like this match was very athletic from both women. It was really impressive. But of course, as Xena moved out of the way, she hit a Japanese arm drag and an arm bar and made Scout Parker tap out. So she was looking very dominant in her debut, and in a very cool change of pace, Zeta Phoenix won. She won, but then of course she proceeded to get attacked by Scout Parker afterward. But in the midst of all that, she had an excellent showing in her debut, and I just thought it was really funny because one of the jokes that me and Katrina have on this show is the fact that she that when it comes to any WoW superhero making their debut, they never win. But this time, Xena did win. She won her debut, even though she got attacked afterward. And I was very impressed with what she had to give here. And I can't wait to see more of what she has to give as she matriculates through WoW. She's a powerhouse. Um, she's full of hard hits. And I just can't wait to see what else she has in store for us. And as we learn more about her story, but just the idea of her winning her WoW debut, and we've seen so many women lose their WoW debut over these past few years is just pretty interesting. So that makes her a very rare bird. No pun intended. So congratulations to Xena Phoenix. We can't wait to see more of you. So after this, we had a superhero spotlight from Valentina Diamante, who was born and raised in Mexico City. And she talked about how she holds her heritage near and dear to her heart and how it gives her the strength and the pride to move forward in her wrestling career. And she stated that wrestling has taught her the importance of having a strong mind and a body. And it instilled in her a great work ethic in order to keep that strong mind and body. And she talked about the adjustment of moving to LA from her close knit family in Mexico City, but she knows that she has to make this sacrifice in order for her dreams to come true, and that she has a responsibility to all of the girls in Mexico City to be an example to them, to let them know that they can make their dreams come true. So that was very, very enlightening. And I really can't wait to see what she has to offer in the ring, because she did talk a lot about lucha libre, which is, of course, a very important art in Mexico when it comes to wrestling. So I just can't wait to see what she has in store for us when she makes her in ring debut as well. So, moving into match number 2, we had Animal Instinct versus the Fierce Sisters, Roxy and Foxy. Now, they did mention on commentary how both of these teams, sustained losses over the past few weeks. So now they were looking for any form of victory against each other. Now, of course, me and Katrina, or me in this case, are always rooting for the Fierce Sisters because we are here for Black women succeeding in wrestling. But, and they really did, have a good opening, in the match. And of course, they looked beautiful as they entered the ring and everything. But Animal Instinct really had like a bone to pick with these girls. Foxy and Katarina got started in the match. Foxy's acrobatics actually got the upper hand onto Katarina, and they traded submissions back and forth. Um, and Foxy actually hit a backslide pin, almost getting the upper hand onto Katarina, but then she tagged Roxy. And then Roxy and Goldie got started in the match. And if it's one thing that I love in wrestling, I love a test of strength. And these women had sort of like a back and forth where they were just pushing each other with their shoulders. And Goldie is someone who is stronger than she appears to be. She seems like she's, very small, but at the same time, she is very strong in the sense that she could lift someone like Roxy and make it look so simple for someone as small as she is. But Roxy proceeded to respond with a drop toe hold and a split, and of course, a number of splashes to Goldie Collins. Roxy isn't here to play with us. She is not here to play with us. And I feel like she continues to get better and better the more I see her wrestle. She continues to go hard for her sister, hit these hard hits, show her flexibility, and just have all of this control with her aggression. And I just really love seeing that. As she fights to not only defend herself, but of course defend the honor of her sister. It's refreshing the more I see it. But of course, Katarina gets back in there, and then she gives a leg DDT, but then Foxy kicks out, and then she proceeds to get isolated by Katarina and Goldie Collins, and they just proceed, and it's just a really great back and forth between them. But of course, Katarina is antagonizing Roxy, and Roxy finally gets tagged, and then she splashed into Katarina Jinx twice, and Roxy prepped for a slam, but then Katarina scratched her eyes and hit a crucifix pin to win the match. And I feel like Animal Instinct sort of outsmarted them, but didn't outmaneuver the Fierce Sisters here. They really were trying their best, and Foxy and Roxy were definitely giving them the business, but I really feel like they sort of outsmarted them by utilizing their animalistic approaches to get the upper hand onto the Fierce Sisters. So afterward, they cut a promo. Animal Instinct cut a promo and said that they were born to be wild in the tag division, and that they are looking towards possibly challenging for the Wild Tag Team titles. And I'm here for it, even though I would prefer if it were the Fierce Sisters because they're just so amazing. But, I'm not too worried about them because the chemistry that they showed, that sisterly chemistry and aggression that they showed, as well as their abilities continuing to grow, I feel like proves that one day that they'll be in the running for those tag titles, hopefully, as the season continues to progress. But if Animal Instinct wants to jump in there, then I'm here for that as well. But I'm just gonna need for them to stop cheating. Stop cheating. But whatever. It's okay. Um so moving on into the third match, we had Reina Del Rey versus Tiki Chamorro. And here again, this is a moment where I'm almost where when they announced this match, it was giving kind of one-sided energy again, right? Because Tiki is, of course, a lot smaller than Reina Del Rey, but then it even gave more one-sided energy because Reina is out here with her alliance sisters, um, Adriana Gambino and the Brat Pack, Gigi Gianni and BK Rhythm. But Adriana came out and she was on commentary with David and Nigel, and I feel like we should have some commotion for Adriana Gambino's fashion. Because Miss Ma'am came out there with her hair up. She came out there with that fur coat and that dress and everything. And her fashion lately, it's just been giving everything to us. It's giving mob boss energy. And it is just so beautiful. The Alliance and Adriana Gambino are one of my cases as to why I feel like WoW Superheroes and NXT should do a crossover episode. Because can you imagine the Alliance linking up with Adriana Rizzo and the D'Angelo family? That would be some pretty sick stuff. I feel like there should be a WoW and NXT crossover event. It needs to be because with all of the female talent that's on WoW and the female talent that's on NXT, you would basically have like the makings of a women's wrestling super show. Basically, you would have an evolution too. But let's not get off into that right now. That's just something I just had to get off my chest. So Tika Chamara, of course, came out and of course she was ready to fight, because she just has a really great fighting spirit and we shouldn't underestimate her due to the fact that she is nice and due to the fact that she is small. We also learned on commentary that um, Adriana Gambino considers the Brat Pack her Goombas, which is an Italian word for friends and pals. And I think I really do like learning these Italian words. I really like it. But Reina Del Rey knocked down Tika Chamorro and she was stepping on her back, along with the album cover as BK and Gigi Gianni used the numbers advantage over Tiki Chamorro. She gave knees to the throat. Reina Del Rey was just very ruthless in this match. But Tiki did try to fight back with a series of drop kicks, and she tried to choke out Reina Del Rey as she jumped on top of her. But of course, there was a moment where it looked like Reina Del Rey slammed her onto the mat backwards, but she was playing possum and proceeded to choke her out some more, which I thought was just an amazing tactical move. But as she was doing that, the Brat Pack distracted the referee while Reina Del Rey was tapping out. And I was so frustrated when I saw this. I was like, come on. That was a really amazing moment. If that, could you imagine if the referee had seen Tiki tap Reina Del Rey out? That would have been one of the major upsets of WoW history if that were the case. But of course, playing those numbers games, you can just never win fair and square. And Reina Del Rey um got up and slammed her with a clothesline and won the match. And I was so devastated for Tiki because she really did have a smart plan in playing possum and not letting the slam get to her, choke out Reina Del Rey, and almost have her tap out, only for the ref to not see it. I felt so bad for her. I was so upset. How dare y'all? The Alliance took her chance away, and I was just like, ah, come on. It was so sad. But the Alliance is proving that they are a strong unit. Now, there is something that I am wondering about the alliance, and that is if they will actually challenge the Fab Four in a, like a sort of like an 8 woman tag. But then again, I don't think it would be an 8 woman tag, seeing as we have more developments coming. But either way, I really feel that if the alliance is going to solidify themselves as a dominant 4 woman faction, then they need to challenge the biggest one on WoW, which is of course the Fab Four. But, I guess we'll just wait and see how that turns out because the year is about to end and December is happening. And then, of course, we're going to go into a new year with this season. So I'm pretty sure with a new year will come fresh changes and fresh rivalries. But I would definitely be here for watching those two factions go head to head against each other. So after that match, we move into our dramatic main event, which was Miami Sweet Heat, the WoW Tag Team Champions, going up against Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty for custody of Holly Swag, who is a grown woman, but yet they're still fighting for the custody of her soul. And Holly Swag came out there, by herself without the Fab Four. And she came out there by herself and got a chair so she could watch how the match would coalesce. And of course, you have Lana Star coming out with the Wild Tag Team Champions in Miami Sweet Heat, the Carlson sisters. And then you have Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty out here to fight, for their honor and for Holly as well. This was a very hard hitting match. It was very interesting to watch Big Rig Betty have such great chemistry with Jesse Jones. Um, because she even hit like the changing lanes with Jesse Jones, which is something that she would have hit with Holly Swag, as they were dominant during their tag team run. So it was interesting to see them hit Lori with that. And as the match continued to go on, Jesse Jones just came in hot towards the beginning of it, and then Betty was able to tag in and hit a bulldog and a super kick to the Carlsons. And something funny that happened on commentary was David McLane sort of bigging up that Southern living that Jesse and Big Rig Betty are trying to, basically subscribe to in their life. And he made a reference to Frankie Beverly and Maze and their song. I guess he was saying Southern time, but really Frankie Beverly and Maze have this song called Southern Girl. And it's just so funny to hear David McLean make references to such old school R&B because I know he is of an older generation. So he would know some of that stuff, but it's just so funny to me as an R&B connoisseur to hear him make these type of references in a wrestling show. So hearing him talk about, Southern living and equating it back to Frankie Beverly and Maze was just very interesting and really amazing for me because growing up, Frankie Beverly and Maze is played at every family reunion, every barbecue, every class reunion, every graduation, everything. So hearing him say that, meant a lot to me. And rest in peace to Frankie Beverly because he was one of the legends that we did lose this year, but his music will live on forever because we're never going to let go of Before I Let Go. We're just not. So, yeah, it was just really cool to hear David McLean say that and sort of talk about the Southern living of eating from the truck stops and all of the above. Now mind you, I don't eat from truck stops, unless I'm on a trip and we go to the gas station and get some snacks or something. But we got good restaurants down here, we got good southern eating. So if you want to come down to Birmingham, Alabama, get you some good food, we got plenty of good restaurants, so we'll feed you. But anyway, back to the action. There was a point where Miami Sweet Heat proceeded to isolate Jesse Jones from Big Rig Betty, and they also targeted her leg. And if you've been watching the past two seasons of WoW, there was a level of injury that Jesse Jones did sustain to one of her knees, to where she had to be out of action for a while, and they proceeded to attack that knee over and over again. They even hit a double back toe hold in order to re-injure that knee, and it was really painful looking. The Carlson sisters were really out here tearing, just utilizing their tag team energy to just tear Jesse apart. And it was hard to watch in certain places. And they even gave a Boston Crab, like Lori gave a Boston Crab to Jesse Jones. But then eventually, once she was able to tag into Betty, she went on the attack and proceeded to attack both sisters, back and forth. But just when it looked like Betty was about to win the match and get custody of Holly Swag, Holly did the unthinkable and took a ball or a sock or something and hit Betty in the face with it and covered and took Lindsay and laid her on top of her mom. And Miami Sweet Heat won the match. So now, as it stands, Holly made her choice, and now she is a part of the Fab Four. She stabbed her mom in the back, attacked her from behind, and now she is in Fab Four. This put me all the way in my feelings because I remember when we first started covering WoW, and it's a very full circle moment with this story because of the fact that it was the Fab Four who were responsible for giving Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag those tickets to the WoW show for helping them tow their car in, I believe, season one. And because of that, they were able to come to a show and actually get involved in some of the matches and join, WoW as a tag team, as the Mother Truckers. So the idea that this is where their story began, and now this is where the Mother Trucker story ends with Holly joining them is absolutely nuts. It is so nuts to me that she would stab her own mother in the back, all for the fabulous life. Oh my God. This was just so heart wrenching to see. And Big Rig Betty made that deal with Lana Star so they could pay off that money. And she did that to get Swag out of trouble. But because she got too big for her britches and got a taste of the caviar and the champagne and the nice clothes and everything and the Beverly Hills lifestyle, she done left her mama behind. Now, it's like I said earlier, you do have to make your own decisions in life. And you can't just coast off of the decisions of your parents all of the time. You just can't do that because that's impossible for you to grow. Because it's like, if that's the case, then you won't grow and become your own person. But at the same time, for you to not be loyal to the person who's been loyal to you, as far as we know for this show being on, outside of WoW is another story. But as in terms of the WoW continuity, she's been loyal to you all this time. You stab her in the back. It's just the most craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I cannot believe that this is where we're at. I cannot believe this huge of a twist has happened. But I will say that I predicted this happening 2 weeks ago. I predicted this. I knew that something like this was going to happen. I just felt it. But I tried to hope and believe that she wouldn't stab her mom in the back. But it's looking like that's exactly what she did. Lord have mercy. So that ended this past episode of WoW. Where do you belong, Holly Swag? Holly is now in the Fab Four. Lord have mercy. So that brings us to the end of Steph and Cat Talk. Wow. Thank you guys so much for watching, all of y'all for watching. And of course, if you want to watch this later, you can watch this on both of our YouTubes, on Katrina's In Cat We Trust channel, on my channel, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And of course, if you want to continue to support WoW, you can go on wowe.com and buy some merchandise from them. You can also go on there and type in your zip code to see what channel it comes on for you if you want to watch it on regular television. It also comes on Hulu, Pluto TV, and also Samsung Television, where they have a 24/7 WoW channel. I do recommend watching it if you have not already, because I learned some really good stuff and found some really amazing women's wrestlers that are in the modern landscape of women's wrestling that are, taking the world by storm right now, that were on WoW. So please go on there and watch it there. You can subscribe to their YouTube channel, which is Wow Superheroes, and catch all the matches and catch up on all the stuff that you might have missed. And of course, once you're finished watching and following them, you can come and watch us, talk about Wow Superheroes every Wednesday or any other day at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, unless otherwise stated. And we're going to cover WoW for you. And we're just going to support these girls in and out of WoW as well. And just continue to support women's wrestling as a whole. Support your local independent promotions where there's women's wrestling. And if you have indie promotions that don't feature women's wrestling on a regular basis, let them know that they should, because women are out here doing the damn thing. And of course, support your favorite women's wrestlers on any mainstream shows, especially this one, and on all the other ones as well, like TNA, WWE, AEW, and all of them. But definitely, definitely give this show a try. It is an hour chock full of drama, but it's full of really great action and solid, um, and just a solid hour of female action. So please check it out and support it, and just continue to support us as we continue to cover it. So of course, watch all of our interviews too that we've done with WoW superheroes of the past. And of course, we're getting it cracking with more stuff as well. So be on the lookout for those announcements too. But of course, know that you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and X/Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow me on TikTok at Steph Hardy 4. Well, Steph_Hardy. You can also follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on X/Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. Listen to the show everywhere you listen to your audio podcast. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can watch the video versions of my episodes as well. And of course, read all of my articles on Daily DDT. I'm taking a little bit of a break from my writing because I am, starting work on something else very important in my life. So be on the lookout for that. And continue to support Katrina at InCat We Trust everywhere. That's INKATW3 with the E. And TRUST. Follow her everywhere and just support her as you see her popping up in all of those promotions in New York and New Jersey. And also buy all of her books because she's an amazing author. And just send her love and support at this time. So, of course, this has been Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye, y'all. Support women.